And just when you know it, I was trapped in a giant spider's web.
Mr. Valentino?
Although those dreadful webs were awfully tight, they did seem a little bit fragile.
Mr. Valentino?
But as soon as I was able to break free, I heard a faint voice in the distance calling for me.
Mr. Valentino?
I don't know what it was saying, but it seemed familiar somehow. Like hearing an old recording of a friend.
Mr. Valentino!
Sorry, I was drifting away from the main point again, wasn't I?
Yes. We'll put your dreams and hallucinations aside for now. Today we agreed that we'll be discussing your childhood memories. Remember?
Oh, we did? Hey, how dare you imply I imagined all of that?
Please, mister, just go ahead and tell me about how that movie about ants you mentioned the other day connects to the problem with your mother.
Oh, the Ant Bully! Yes, quite a marvellous film indeed. An underrated one, too. Not great, but it's got some real talent behind it. The 3D animation is quite impressive. I mean, look how they're able to convey size and motion on this scene. And how detailed is Paul Giamatti's rear? You can even see how the skin colour gets darker around the area of the...
Please just get to the main point.
But anyway, when I saw it as a kid, my main concern wasn't how dark Paul Giamatti's anus can get.
Mr. Valentino!
Sorry, but my actual concerns were about its implications regarding the morality of redemption, and even unintentional traces of Machiavellian manipulation. Let's go for the easy one first. Okay, so the story is as basic as you can get. A kid named Lucas is getting bullied. Pent up with frustration, he decides to take his anger out on something smaller than him, making him no better than his actual bullies. The ants decide to take action and shrink him to their size. But instead of them eating him, they decide to teach him their ways, and he obviously starts feeling attached towards them. But oh no! The exterminator that Lucas hired a couple of days ago, just before he got shrunk, is back and wants to destroy everything in the garden. So now it's up to Lucas to save his new friends and stop the evil exterminator. But the problem I had as a kid was, well, the exterminator's not evil. A bit scummy, of course. I mean, he does trick a miner into buying his services just because he wants all of the houses on the block to be on his portfolio. But for a small business owner, that's completely reasonable. And the movie never makes him acknowledge that there is actually a small child on the garden, so he's not actually harming any humans willingly. And with the ants, well, that's his job. Ants can be really problematic at times. They ruin food supplies, spread bacteria, eat wood, clog up gutters, and ruin gardens. So the guy is just providing a useful service and killing insects that, to his knowledge, simply don't have a conscience. And even worse, they do need an exterminator. Have you seen how many wasps come out of their back garden?
Mr. Valentino, what does any of this have to do with your childhood?
Well, as a kid I liked watching and studying bugs. But even then, I was aware that bugs are the most unfeeling monsters out there. Truly horrifying creatures incapable of feeling even the most primitive versions of love or attachment. And add that to the torturous way they kill their prey. I now realise that marathoning the island of giant insects before watching this film wasn't a good idea. But anyway, this guy's only doing his job, okay? Alright, he's a bit greedy and slippery. So what seems like an appropriate punishment? Maybe sting him a couple of times and scare him off? Okay. Humiliate him in front of the whole neighbourhood for being dishonest and manipulative? Seems good. But maybe not, I don't know, deform him and force him to live the rest of his days in shame and paranoia of insects? He had no idea that he was killing sentient creatures, so why punish him in such a matter? And if they just punish him out of nowhere for harming something that he wasn't even aware could feel, then doesn't that invalidate the whole message of the movie? Because I always thought that the main message of the film was that everyone has a side to their story, and that through interaction we are able to understand others and find similarities, build friendships, and expand our minds. You know, like Daryl Davis says, when two enemies are talking, they're not fighting. And yes, the punishment is harder and a bit unwarranted, but that's where it stops, right? No! When Lucas goes back to the human world, he makes everyone stand up to their bully. Okay, that's fine. What isn't fine is that Lucas doesn't break the abuse cycle, he simply redirects it, putting everyone against the original bully. Children don't always bully because they come from abusive homes. Sometimes it's due to faulty upbringing. But even then, they're only human, which, just like our protagonist, they are misguided and need firm correction. Again, everyone has a side to their story, and this type of ending seems to contradict the final message inadvertently. If they maybe were given a chance to change or see the error of their ways, but continue to go down the same route, then the punishment is warranted. The key thing here is the chance to change. Not only the protagonist seeing the error of his ways and judging everyone from a pedestal. Either everyone is able to redeem themselves, or no one truly is. And even then, if you really think about it, the whole reason on why Lucas changes is a bit messed up.
Oh, brother.
When you really think about it, Lucas didn't change because he felt remorse that he was killing sentient feeling creatures. He changed because the ants appealed at his ego, making him feel validated and more important. Don't you think it's a little bit weird that all of the ants really opened up to Lucas once he was small? Even though he probably killed hundreds of them? Well, they were reasonably angry with him until their queen told them to accept Lucas. And then everyone opened up to him really quickly, to the point I've always thought, what if the ants purposely treated him good, not to teach him a lesson or to show him mercy, but for their own advantage? The Ant Queen could have possibly saw the potential in him as an asset, rather than being an enemy. So they manipulated the child. And it's not like Lucas is unable to be manipulated by others, as it's established pretty early on in the film. The ants are so nice to what is practically a genocidal alien to them, and they don't mind giving him way more rations than he needs, even when they are supposedly on a shortage. So what if through their hive mind, all of this was just a facade to put the kid on their side, giving them a reliable food source and protection? Remember, you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
And speaking of food, there goes my lunch break.
All of these things I have mentioned follow in line with some of the 48 laws of power, which are created to assess and therefore manipulate situations and people. Conceal your intentions. Selective honesty and generosity to manipulate enemies. Appeal to selfishness, not virtue. Gather information. Create a cult-like following. And a lot of etc, etc, etc. If they have something resembling Kool-Aid, Lucas already drank it. And it seems to pay off, as they have a new guardian by the end of the film, which will give them protection from big and small threats, and will even give them sustenance. But the worst thing about this movie is not that, but that it actually made me believe jelly beans have a different taste. Have you ever eaten jelly beans? They all taste the same.
Are you eating jelly beans right now?
Yes, I carry all sorts of candy. Hershey's, gummies, jelly beans, licorice, crystallized pineapple.
All right.
Oh, don't be like that. It's always good to carry candy in case someone gets sad.
And why is that?
It's harder to stay sad while eating candy.
Okay, I've heard enough. Edgar! Penelope!
You call?
Morning, Doctor.
Take Mr. Valentino back to his room. And bring the cow next.
Okie dokie. Come on, mister. I'll take you to your, I'll take you to your...
Oh, but I wasn't finished. Have you noticed that the wizard ant had a mate while it's not normal for...
Okay, time to sleep.
That's not fair.
Great. Now I want jelly beans.